Welcome to the Chinese Medicine Podcast with your host, Marie Hopkinson, Chinese Medicine Practitioner.
Hi, I'm Marie Hopkinson and welcome back to the Chinese Medicine Podcast. Today I'm here in Melbourne, in freezing cold, beautiful Melbourne. It's a bit different from my hometown Perth, but is lovely here, with Jason Chong of Dietary Health. And he's here to talk to us about some special areas that he has an interest in Chinese medicine. So first thing, Jason's going to tell us a little bit about his background, how he got into Chinese medicine.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I've been a practitioner for the last 5 years. My path to Chinese medicine started with shiatsu. My first experience of learning Chinese medicine, I was living in Amsterdam actually, and enrolled in a shiatsu course which delivered entirely in Dutch. So my first introduction to Chinese medicine was hands-on and was done without a lot of theory. It was very experiential learning. And that set the path for all of my learning henceforth. I came to Melbourne to study Chinese medicine, and from there developed interest in learning not just what I was being taught at school, but everything. And I attended every seminar I could get my hands on. I explored every style I could get my hands on. And through that I came to develop an affinity for certain practices and certain styles. So ultimately I landed with the ICAM style of herbal practice and the Nagano lineage style of acupuncture practice. And they're both very hands-on. They rely a lot on this palpatory sense, on looking at the pulse, looking at the hara, the abdomen, looking at the body with what you can feel with your hands to confirm what you're doing in clinic.
Awesome. Sounds so interesting. Jason also has a really specific interest in helping patients with things that they can do after the treatment or in between the treatments, Chinese diet therapy type of based treatment. So today on the podcast he's going to talk about some of those things. So I'll leave it up to Jason to introduce his special interest area.
Yeah, cool. So I guess it all stems from Nagano's teaching. Particularly, Nagano's final message to his disciples was, don't forget the stomach chi. That attending to our stomach chi, our postnatal energy, is key to any treatment, whether that's in clinic or what we do at home. That providing energy to the body to integrate treatment is vital. And so the message to both practitioners and to the clients was to focus on the stomach chi, focus on nourishing the stomach chi. So there's two ways that I deal with this.
And can I just interrupt you there for a second? Sorry, some of our viewers won't know what stomach chi is.
Of course.
So how would you describe what, it sounds a bit mystical, what's stomach chi?
What's stomach chi?
Yeah.
Good question. So stomach chi, I guess very commonly we may also refer to it as spleen chi, right? Because it's about the earth element and it's about the digestive system. So what we're talking about is the strength of the digestive system, and its ability to absorb nutrients from food, from water, and more broadly from air and from what we absorb mentally and emotionally. So the information that we digest from the world around us, that's what the stomach chi processes for us. And so having that ability allows us to nourish ourselves, to give us the energy to function.
Yeah, because a lot of the time you see the word chi, and I'll write that on the bottom there so you can see it, but Qi, chi, and it's like some people don't even know how to pronounce it, or they get like, whoa, mystified by that word, but it doesn't just, like some people translate it as energy, and then that can be frustrating for people that then think, oh, it's some mystical force, but how you explain it then is great, like it's the functional aspect of...
Yeah, absolutely, and the definition that we fall into with energy, it does get us into question with people who aren't familiar with Chinese medicine. It does make it a little bit more mystical, but ultimately it's not a mystical energy. It is nuts and bolts. We're talking about oxygen, we're talking about micronutrients. We're just using a different language.
Well, it's the same kind of energy we talk about in physics, or the energy you need to propel your car.
I mean, that's not tangible as well. That's not something you can put in your hand and hold. Absolutely.
Okay, so tell us about stomach chi and how we can get our stomach chi more healthy.
Yeah, great. So stomach chi, in terms of tips that I give my clients to work with at home, I like to keep it simple. There is, of course, an entire realm of Chinese dietary therapy where we will tailor diet, we will tailor advice specifically for your condition, whether that be that you have a lot of stomach heat, excessive appetite, reflux, nausea, or spleen chi deficiency we may also diagnose. and then we may lead you towards moving away from damp foods like greasy foods or excessive dairy. And these are very specific for people, but I find that in clinic, that is the second step of attending to stomach chi. The first step is the basics of diet therapy. It's the basics of how we approach food, and that I feel is more essential. For me, getting those basics down allows all of the specifics to really take hold.
So what are some of the basics that people at home should be paying attention to? Or maybe a lot of people watching the podcast go to Chinese medicine practitioners already, and so they're kind of a little bit familiar with these things, and they want to be as healthy as they can.
Absolutely. So there's a few points I think that are key. The first thing is keep it simple, right? Keeping our diet simple. The more complex and rich the meal is in front of us, the more work our digestive system has, right? So the simpler our meals are, the less complicated the combination of ingredients, especially when our digestive system is struggling, the easier it is for us to extract what we need. I'm a big proponent of seasonal. The essence of Chinese medicine is that we live in harmony with the natural rhythms of the world around us, the natural rhythms of the seasons of the day, and that we eat accordingly to that. And so for me, seasonal eating has a lot of aspects to it. For me, seasonal eating is local seasonal food. What is in season? I live in Melbourne. It is winter. What is it that grows naturally here now? That's what I should be eating, and that environmentally is fantastic because it means that I'm eating things that are grown locally. Food miles is a question these days, and I think that benefits the broader environment. Which is it's part of Chinese medicine because we are a reflection of the external environment. We talk about the microcosm and the macrocosm, how we reflect the external environment. So whatever we can do to protect that is protecting our health as well.
Well, even on the way here, as I was at the airport coming here this morning, there was a thing on the news about food health crisis. That we need to stop eating as much meat as we do because we won't have enough food on this planet, and now we're starting to we don't want to be acting because of a crisis. I mean, we need to, but Chinese medicine's been saying this stuff all along.
Exactly. It's about it's how we can live in concert with what's going on around us. So for me, seasonal foods as the items themselves need to be seasonally adjusted.
Now, what about people that don't know anything about seasonal foods? Are there places they can go to get that information? Like, how would they find that out?
Absolutely. Look, there's often local guides. I am in the process of putting together local guides on my website, or seasonal guides on my website.
We'll put a link to that below, so when that is ready, you'll be able to log on and get that.
The idea is to look at Chinese dietary therapy from a seasonal, so we know what we should be eating for our condition in summer or in winter. That's a work in progress.
But there are, you can just Google that information as well, because it's not just the two of us that are saying this.
Absolutely.
There's lots of people around the world that share this opinion.
Googling, what is seasonal in my local area. Seasonal foods in Melbourne, for example, will give you that information really easily. Absolutely.
Awesome, great. And the other benefit of seasonal foods is they're often cheaper.
Yes, of course.
They cost you less money, and they cost the environment less in terms of what you said about, what did you say about the transportation? The cost of
food miles, they call
food miles.
How much does it actually cost to get that food to your plate? If I'm having asparagus that's grown in Mexico, they've grown it, but then they've shipped it all the way here. Right? So there's a broader cost to getting that food. And plus, if it's grown locally, it's fresher and it's tastier.
That's another big thing, because in Chinese medicine we always think that you want to cook your food, not eat it raw, and a lot of people then complain that, we're not getting all the nutrients, but you actually will get a lot more nutrients if you're cooking fresh foods versus cooking foods that have been stored somewhere. You don't know how long they've been stored, sometimes 2 years some foods have been stored before they're sold to you.
That's a common discussion about what's available in Woolworths, is that it's not this season's, it's last year's. Right? I mean, that's why we get asparagus all year long.
Awesome. Okay, that's a really great tip. So the first one is to eat what's in season, and to put some research in for yourself about what's in season in your area. Maybe if you've got a good resource about what's in season, you can put that in the comments below, because other people would love to benefit from that information.
As would I.
I'd like to know too.
Yeah, and then I guess continuing the seasonal theme,
Yeah.
Seasonal cooking. Chinese medicine practitioners always talk about this, but what is appropriate for the time of year? In the middle of winter or in Melbourne where it is cold, our fresh raw salads are perhaps not the most appropriate because they're colder in nature and it's more energy for our body to digest that. And we want to protect that stomach chi, that digestive energy. So eating foods that are cooked and cooked slower now is more appropriate as opposed to the height of summer where we want those salads that are more cooling in nature. Because nature is amazingly intelligent in its design and we can just support that by choosing the right foods and choosing the way we prepare those foods.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. And then it makes it easier to know how to prepare them because when you pick what's in season, then that nature's telling you how to prepare it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So not going to eat a raw potato.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yes.
It's like potato smoothie.
Don't eat raw potatoes. Not good for stomach chi.
Yeah. Okay, so what else could people do?
Seasonal eating, working with rhythms as well, then we look at the rhythms during the day. For me, something that's so common is people skip breakfast. So people are always skipping breakfast, and that is the essential time for eating. We talk about the clock, the Chinese medicine clock, where the energy is stronger in certain organs at the time of day, and we view it in the digestive systems as being strongest between 7 and 11 a.m. The time we should have breakfast is when we should eat and digest that food. And that correlates with the circadian clocks, the rhythms that our body sets due to light. That our glucose tolerance is higher in the morning.
Right.
So physiologically we are better able to absorb food in the morning, which of course we say that in Chinese medicine have been doing for a long time.
Yeah. So for people that are wanting to maybe lose weight or boost their metabolism and things, and they think, if I skip breakfast, that's one less meal that I eat a day. It'd be better for them to eat the breakfast and not eat an evening meal, for instance.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, my experience has been that when people start to shift their dietary patterns, and it takes a bit of work to get there. When you start eating more breakfast, you actually eat less during the day. And the beauty of doing this, I say to my clients, it's like, you're not going to drive from here to Sydney without putting fuel in the car first. We need energy to sustain ourselves. So if we eat in the morning and we put those calories in, we then go and work, move, walk, exercise, and we use those up so it doesn't settle. Whereas if we have that bigger meal at the end of the day, we're not active, then that's where we start to see weight gain. And the other thing that I find people experience there as well, eating bigger meals during the day means they eat less because by the end of the day they're not in starvation, their body's not screaming out for food, and so they're less likely to overeat. So that really helps as well.
Yeah, it's good. It makes sense in theory, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, Chinese
and it makes sense in practice as well.
Chinese medicine is so practical. It really is so simple. I think ultimately. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we need to look after our stomach chi by eating what's in season, what's locally available to us, which is good for us, good for the environment, and helping our stomach chi by eating breakfast to get your metabolism and your body started off in a good way.
It's eating in concert with the rhythms around us, essentially. And there's something you touched on earlier as well, was talking about not eating too much cold food. Right? I mean, Chinese medicine practitioners are always saying this to clients, don't eat cold food, I'll stay away from your raw foods. And I think it's a personal thing. I think that for some people it is more appropriate than it is for other people. And I'm often having this discussion with my clients that what is cold food and how we define that. Because I think there's a lot of layers to it. Cold food is food that's straight out of the fridge or the freezer. Frozen berries are very, very cold, and it's very obvious for us to grasp that concept. The cold nature of food, foods that have an energetic cooling influence on the body, such as tomatoes or cucumbers, things that are in season in that warmer weather have that cooling influence. And so it's very appropriate to have that in summer, but in the middle of winter it's less appropriate because the world is already quite cooling around us. But I think also the aspect of that is not mentioned is that cooling foods are foods that don't have a lot of yang warming vitality to them. And so heavily processed foods also fall into this category because they've been stripped of that fundamental energy, that vitality that you get. You just don't get that you get with fresh food, you don't get with processed foods. And so minimising that as well is very important for our digestive system. And I think that when we look at that advice of staying away from cooling foods, for me, that is the primary one that I actually put forward to clients.
Because it's so, it's a trap once you're in the packet trap. You're eating out of packets all the time. And look, sometimes it's better than not eating any food at all, but you can't live like that forever, and it's certainly not a healthy way to eat and to live.
Absolutely.
And there's no vitality, there's no chi in that food, because it's essentially, once it's in that packet, when it's preserved, it's lost that vitality. So that's a really, really great point. That to think of those packet foods as cold foods, and they have less yang in them.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's for me. That's really key.
Right.
Of extending, the advice that everyone does give to clients.
And I guess what you were saying before about where some foods some people can tolerate a bit more cold than other people in terms of the spectrum of cooler foods or cooling foods. And that's something you'll find from your practitioner. You can't get that out of a YouTube video. Like, we can't give you a diagnosis through YouTube, check your pulse through the internet, because we can't do that yet. But when technology comes, I'll be doing that. So,
but for now, just informational purposes, this is not diagnosis.
Exactly, where everyone knows that. I always put that on my thing.
Beautiful.
That YouTube's not a replacement for real medicine. We know that here. But we always have to say it, just in case there's new people coming.
Of course.
And also, it really means that that's the benefit that you get, or one of the benefits you get out of seeing a practitioner. It's not just, okay, you've got the treatment, you might have had acupuncture or gotten Chinese medicine, herbs that you've taken, something like that. But once you've got that diagnosis, then you can really apply this knowledge that we're giving you, because okay, you can ask your practitioner, like, what's my diagnosis, so that and what kind, like, can I eat some cooling foods, or when could I eat some cooling foods, and they'll be able to give you that information that's exactly specific to you. It's not, like what I should be eating is different to what Jason should be eating. We both live in different areas as well, but you have different constitutions, different backgrounds. There's different, even different illnesses that have happened to you along the history of life, but also what's happening to you right now. So it might be okay for me to eat cooling food sometimes, but then if you get certain illnesses you go to your practitioner for, they might say no, to stop eating those foods for a week or something.
Yeah, and this is the thing, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, which is my concern with a lot of popular diets, is that they're presented as a one-size-fits-all, that, you should follow a paleo diet and it's great for everybody. It's wonderful for some people, but other people really struggle on it. So I think, we have these basic principles, which is the focus of what I put forward, but then there is also the specifics to your condition, which take it that step further. Yeah,
and that's the beauty of Chinese medicine, because I think people do find that frustrating, especially if your friend had a really good result on a particular diet or a strategy, and they're telling everyone, go on this diet, this is amazing. And it probably was amazing, and it probably does work for that type of person, but then it isn't a one-size-fits-all. So, Chinese medicine isn't a one-size-fits-all. Like, both of us could see 10 patients in a day, and we're not going to give them all, even if they all had a headache, we won't give them all the same treatment.
No, absolutely.
Totally specific.
That's the the beauty of the diagnosis methods we have in Chinese medicine. But then I think that as well, the other key point that I present to clients from that is not to obsess over diet as well, right? We have this new diagnostic manual of diagnosis, the DCM-5, I think, that's come out. They define the DSM-5. They define orthorexia, right? And it's that unhealthy obsession with diet and what we eat, and this is very common as well. In Chinese medicine, we talk about worry as the emotion or the mental activity which negatively affects the earth, negatively affects the spleen and the stomach and the digestive organ. And so when we are constantly worrying about what we're eating, that is in turn affecting the ability of our digestive system. So I also encourage people, I'm going to give you all this advice, but at the same time, relax a little bit, right? Don't stress about all the fine details. You may indulge in a few chocolate bars here and there, right? You may have a few dots, and that's okay. Just a few. I think it's healthy to allow yourself that and not beat yourself up about it. And I think that's also really key to having a healthy digestion. I remember a teacher said to me once that it is better for you to go and have that indulgence, give yourself permission and feel good about that. You're going to get more nutrition for your body by allowing that to happen. than eating the perfect superfood diet, but being so obsessed and worried about that you've done it right.
Yeah.
You're going to get more out of the bad food, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that you give you permission to go and eat McDonald's every day, but it's, if you have an indulgence or you go out for a meal, that it's okay to do that occasionally. It's a moderation, right? And that's what Chinese medicine is about. It's about moderation and balance.
Yeah, and then you can enjoy you can enjoy all of it, and you don't have to slog it out. And you should enjoy your food, and you should enjoy the process of making it and like finding it. Like that's a whole other thing, is going on a journey to find your food.
Exactly.
It's been more of a gatherer and hopefully maybe not a hunter, but you should. If you're purchasing it, you're a gatherer, I think. Being I think what we need now in our society is more in touch with our food than ever before, and less distance from our food. But like what you said is so true. Like, because there's no need for people to obsess.
No, and we lose that connection for it in modern life as well. We are constantly on the rush and on the run, and we do tend to go for the easy options or the pre-prepared food or the takeout, and we lose the connection with the whole process of making food.
Yeah.
I know for myself, when I take time to slow down and actually enjoy the process of cooking, and involving my young boy in it as well. He loves to get involved with cooking, with cutting food and stirring things with me. That when we do that, we actually really enjoy the meal a lot more, and we feel more nourished afterwards. I think that's really important.
All right, so Jason's going to show us some things that people can do for their stomach chi as well.
Yeah. So there's a very simple exercise that I do prescribe to a lot of people. It's a very simple self-massage. We call it massaging the stomach chi line.
Awesome.
It's something you can practice a couple of times a day. It takes you about 30 seconds.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
Really
that sounds
simple.
good. Something that takes 30 seconds sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Easy to apply. All right. So,
which is how it should be, right?
Yeah, so let's have a look and let's show us how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a very simple exercise. Essentially, it's just self-massage along the stomach chi line, following the stomach channel or the pathway of where the stomach energy moves. And that is in our leg. And so if you have a look at the leg, we have... I'll show you my lovely legs.
Awesome.
Beautiful legs.
We don't see this every day on the podcast.
No. We have the tibia or the bone that's at the front of our lower leg. And just to the outside that is the area of the stomach chi, or the stomach line, which if you have a more anatomical background, you may call the tibialis anterior muscle. And the exercise is essentially just massaging through this channel in a downwards direction. So the first thing we will do is just gently and slowly move downwards along the outside of that bone. As we pass through there a few times, what we may start to feel as we tune into the sensation under our thumb is congestion. We might find bumps, or we may find dips. And so these are areas that we can come back to and massage a little further. So if we find a bump or a congestion point, we may massage that a little bit harder to help break it up. And as we massage down, we may find a bit of a dip, and we may just hold that a little bit and warm that up. And so working through that a few times, 15-20 seconds on this side, very good to do just before a meal as well, or after a meal, to help things move through. This is especially if we have digestive issues, if we get reflux, if we get that really full sensation really easily, or we find that our bowels move a little slower. And generally we'll start this on the left side, and then we'll move and repeat it on the right side. 15-20 seconds each side, and that's a very simple exercise I give to most of my clients, whether or not they have digestive issues, because attending to the stomach chi is so central. It is so core to all healing and to setting the scene for healing, that this exercise done on a daily basis is very beneficial and complements treatments of acupuncture and anything else that one may be doing for one's health.
Well, that was really, really interesting. I actually learned something then.
Yeah, great.
I don't want to sound pompous or anything, but I did learn some stuff then, and that exercise is really easy for people to do, and I think it's something that we can all do. Yeah. And do they have to is it better to do it through the clothes or on the skin?
Whatever's more comfortable. Middle of winter, keep your clothes on.
Awesome. Yep. I'm all for that, keep the clothes on. So if people are interested in contacting Jason at his clinic, he works in this beautiful place of Melbourne, and it's a lovely city to visit. Yeah. So if you're interested in pursuing more Chinese medicine for yourself and interested in what Jason does at his clinic in Melbourne, then you can go to his website, dantianhealth.com.au, and he also has a free ebook that you can download. If you really liked this stuff, if you thought, wow, this was interesting and I'd love to learn a bit more about that, then there's a few more tips that you can get in the ebook.
Yep.
How would they download that?
Just go to the website and there's an opt-in on that
awesome.
front page. It will lead you directly through to how to grab that for yourself.
So we'll put the link somewhere either above or below this video, and you click on the link. We love people that click on links, and I know you love clicking links as well. So click away, and so you can check out Jason's clinic and the other things that he does. So Jason's an acupuncturist and a Chinese herbalist. He actually does the same system of Chinese herbs that I do. So if you've been listening to other videos I've made and you hear me banging on about pulse diagnosis herbs, then that's what Jason does, and he's very good at it. So you can do that. And it's been a pleasure to interview you and have you on the podcast. It's been really fun, and I'm sure people are going to love those exercises, and I'm going to go right now and download that ebook because it sounds really interesting.
Great. Now, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been great talking to you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.